that one. I'm Chad, he's Matt. We're reviewing Monster Party NES, and this is our second attempt at doing this right. So, Matt, let's just get into this. When we talk about
All
graphics,
right, you sound constipated.
no, I'm angry. When we talk graphics on this game, I definitely liked what we got. It was, with NES games, you often deal with the fact that you just get a lot of repeating bosses or repeating enemy types, and they just have different color palettes. But in this game, you definitely have different enemy types throughout the levels. Each level has its own uniqueness. The characters definitely have something that pops off the screen. And as I mentioned before, anytime you get an NES game that actually puts forth effort to animate movement of the lips while there's text, definitely at least a bare minimum of a 3. So I got to give this, overall with its general appeal and its in-depth creativity and the uniqueness with each level, I'm giving this a hard 4.
Okay. And I was praising it as well, mainly for its variation of color and things like that. I felt the presentation was well done on that front. I believe my score was a 3,
Yes.
if I'm remembering right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
So with
But yeah, that
sound,
was mainly my advantage. Yeah.
the music's not great, but it's very atmospheric and it definitely does set the tone for the type of experience that you're going to be getting. It's very kind of bonkers and little bit of the spooky ooky. The sound effects aren't great, as you mentioned before. You only get barely much more than the bleep bloops of the NES era, so we got to take it for what it is. But overall, I gave sound a 4.
Yeah, I agreed with you on the main front of this. The game is very immersive in its soundtrack. It really hits the notes. It hits the notes very well with it. And the issues I have were necessarily the volume thing I said was just due to the port, so I can't knock it for that. And I believe that one was a 3, or was that a 4?
You gave that one a 4 the first time we tried doing this.
Gotcha.
Uh,
I can't. Dude, it's memory loss, man. It sucks.
So we go to gameplay. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's playable, but you can definitely tell that some of the hit detection is off, and you can send objects back on contact with your baseball bat, but it doesn't always go the way that you want it to or that you expect it to. So you do have to kind of dock it there. There is some issues with jumping and evading enemies, so I'll give it a 3. It's playable, but you will find some difficulties with the setup of the engine. Matt, what are you giving gameplay?
I think I fell into a 3 with gameplay as well, and like I stated before, I was experiencing some issues too. Like I told you with the ladder, and that's a glitch where I couldn't get down, and the hit detection, like we've mentioned before, that was a big issue of mine. But otherwise, it works for the most part. It's just a few kinks to be ironed out. So I believe I was at a 3 on that one.
Yes. Then we move to fun factor. This game is entirely up my alley. It is all the things that I enjoy. It is weird. There's this spooky aspect about it. There's all these classic monster villains that are popping up, and I'm like, yes, this is definitely within my wheelhouse of craziness. So I got to give this a hard 5 because this is definitely my jam.
Anything to do with the spooky oogies? I think you might appreciate too the fact that it's all a bunch of monsters too. Like that helps. Like the big like swab monsters. And what game could you not like? I mean, when you transformed, I'm assuming that's a gargoyle.
Gargoyle, demon, something like that.
Yeah. So how can you not have fun with something like that? That being said, I'm not as high as you on this one. I enjoyed it, but a couple of those glitches and issues did wane it down just slightly for me. So I'm at a 4, I think.
Okay. And then the challenge, was it a enjoyable experience to beat? Could you beat it without too much aggravation? For me, it wasn't exactly the hardest game for me to beat. And you did end up taking a lot more damage than you expected, but I wouldn't say it's unbeatable, and I wouldn't say it's even unplayable. I think if there's any negativity or criticism against this game, it might be wholly unfounded in a lot of ways in terms of the challenge or the gameplay ability itself. Because I got through a good decent chunk of this game, just kind of playing it one time through. So I'm going to give this a solid 4. It definitely is enjoyable. It definitely is a challenge, but I don't think the experience is going to be one that you should dread having, essentially.
No, because I believe it's pretty much a straightforward affair, honestly. Like, it's not that hard to figure out, like, exactly where to go, and the premise is fairly simple with how to beat a stage. It's just a matter of just slight things, hiccups here and there that are could mess with you a little bit. But overall, I think it's worth a playthrough. I think it's a fairly decent game for what it is, as weird as it is, and I'm gonna go with a 4.
So that means at the end of the day, this game scores out at a 3.5 for graphics, a 4 for sound, a 3 for gameplay, a 4.5 for fun factor, and a 4 for challenge. That brings us up to a 19 overall. That means the game gets a 76%, which means it's like recommended or something. I don't remember a scale.
I'm gonna say you've had that thing memorized and then you forget it.
Oh no, I
I
don't
don't know.
memorize it. I pull it up on the fucking website. You kidding me?
Visual aids, they're
Exactly.
great.
We'll talk more about the game on the podcast. Matt, what do we have coming up on the podcast? Which you can download, by the way, below this video.
We have a couple of things coming up this week. Got some EA screwing up by trying to sell microtransactions to kids. Some GameStops in other countries are delaying the shipping of PS5s. We got Cyberpunk demanding some crunch to finish their game, and WWE getting in some hot water over tattoos and video games. So it's going to be a show to look forward to or to cringe at. That's up to you.
And some of that may not even make the list because I didn't review what we were talking about. Although we can at least hit all those since you did.
Do you ever?
Only when I actually start the show.
The effort is astounding.
For Matt, I'm Chad. Go to realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. Matt, your Twitter is
mnerdcorp, same handle on Twitch.
You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on Instagram at ChadSphotoHut. The link to the podcast is down below, or you can find it on the website at realnerdcorp.com. We're out. Goodbye. Good night. Play more games.